Welcome back to the Up and Downs. We have our next match between one of two EG Code S players up against NesTea.
Yeah, Hug is already in Code S. NesTea and Fantasy have both a chance of advancing. As a second place in the group. Santa could still come in third depending on what happens here. The one game that we are not going to have today is Finale versus Flying, because the game is not important to the two of them. They can't get third place anymore, and of course they can't advance to Code S right away. What's going to happen right now is if NesTea takes the game against Hug, he's going to advance to Code S, and the match between Center and Fantasy will determine the third place finish of the day. If Hug takes it though, then the situation is a little bit different. We're going back into that scenario if it actually occurs. So now we're just waiting for the players to get ready and the game to start. It's NesTea versus Hug, and the map is in Toon Valley.
Good map for Protoss, tough map for Zerg. NesTea though, it's pretty unpredictable. He could go for Mutas on this map even. It's a pretty tough map to go Mutas because it's relatively easy for the Protoss player to hold his third if he has good coverage with the Stalkers. The Mutas can get trapped in the main, for example, but I wouldn't put it past him.
We had a nice opening for Finale, an attempted 4-gate with a bit of a twisted against NesTea. The first PvZ that NesTea played today. Now he's up against the foreigner, against the Canadian player, the Canadian Protoss. The match is going live right now. Hug in Code S. This game for him is not important anymore, but for NesTea everything is on the line. If he wins, he is in Code S. Let's see if he can make it happen. We at the GSL Up and Downs. NesTea versus Hug. Brought to you by Colin Wolf. Starting to the bottom left of the map, we have our Zerg player for Incredible Miracle on a 3-1 score in this group. It is
AJM NesTea.
NesTea wants to join Hug and Code S if he can.
Starting to the top right, we have the foreign Hope. He's in Code S now. It is
EG Hug Ladycore.
cross-positioned on this map. Long push distance between the two players.
Yep, you can see his OGS jacket, in fact, that he's hanging from his chair, which is just kind of one of those ironic memoirs of a time when things were very different out here in Korea. Hug with the gate in the main.
A gate in the main, indeed. A lot of things that he could do with it. We mentioned it a bit earlier when we had Finale playing. Finale decided to open with a 4-gate, but he could have just started his tech a bit earlier and then go into an expansion after all. But right now, this is a map where you can occasionally try to go for a hatch first. Players have been trying that. We even saw a double hatch before pool. It was one of the games that we saw a few months ago against Liquid Hero, but now NesTea starts with the normal pool opening. Yeah. And if you are a Hug fan, make sure that you send him a tweet on Twitter and congratulate him to Code S. This is actually quite the accomplishment.
It's historical.
Yeah, it's the second time for him. Very few players have been able to get through the up and downs into Code S. He has done it, and his Twitter account, of course, is at Lone Ranger Chris. If you're a NesTea fan, you can always send him a shout out as well. His Twitter account is a little bit complicated, as apparently there was another person who took his intended Twitter account. NesTea's Twitter is LGIM_NesTea_. Let him know if you cheer for him. He could go to Code S today.
Yeah. Now, the Twitters that you could follow as well for us are Proxywolf and Calder. We'd love to hear from you guys. But before we talk too much about Twitter, let's see what Hug has planned. He's chrono boosting out his Stalker, which is very indicative of pressure. When you have the Stalker out, when you do it this fast, it can really throw a Zerg player off guard, because this is NesTea's first glimpse of what build Hug is doing. He's like, oh, another one of these gateway builds, not going to be a 4-gate, so I don't have to panic, but I will have to make more lings than I'd like to at this stage of the game.
And the timings are also very different. The attack is faster for the Protoss, so you have to be ready for a bit of an earlier aggression depending on what the Protoss player wants to do. And this just makes sure that NesTea now is going to adjust his build. The speed is already on the production tab, so very fast on this big map with those cross positions, and it will give him a good edge if Huck decides to go for gateway pressure.
Yeah. Here comes that Stalker walking up the ramp. NesTea just gonna have to make lanes now. He made 5 more drones, so he's gonna have to fight a Stalker with a Queen. If the Zealot were here, this would not be a fight the Queen wants to take, but as it is, it's still a little bit annoying. NesTea does not budge though. He's not making a single extra lane. Not even one. He makes only drones.
3 additional gates here. And fantasy fans amongst you will be happy to hear that he also still has a shot of getting into Codes. He could get 2nd spot, but for that to happen, he has to must rely on Huck winning this and then win his own game against Center later on. Yep. And he would be tied with NesTea, and because he won the direct comparison, he would advance together with Huck to Codes.
Huck is putting on some serious pressure here, and NesTea is in trouble. He droned up a little bit too much. Now his links pop out, but Huck barely could not take out that Queen. This is really cool pressure, though. On the other hand, his wall is up at home.
Those Stalkers are just able to get away. Nah, the speed is kicking in a second, and he's not moving in any additional units. He should be able to surround them. Yeah. It's going to be close, though. They're nearly at home, but no, there's the speed.
He's going to get surrounded. He wants to go right towards those rocks, and NesTea says no.
Yeah, great for NesTea, taking out 2 Stalkers early on. Well done here.
Yeah, he waited until the last second for his ling speed, did not make any lings before that, really.
He sees all those gateways, and now that he knows that this is, of course, affecting Huck's timing a lot, NesTea with his own Roach Warren here, and we have him with the 3rd base coming up, whereas Huck decides to just go for a gateway attack once again.
Yep, this is pretty old school. He may add the 6th and final gateway and go for a 6 gateway sentry attack. He's got a probe ready to do a forward pylon, and NesTea, you know, I feel like he can hold something like this. Huck is not taking a 3rd. NesTea is sending an Overlord over to scout this. If NesTea gets over and sees the rocks have not been touched, or checks specifically the Nexus, either one, he's going to play cautiously here. And he already sees the sentries moving out with his Zergling as well. This is pretty predictable at this point.
Yeah, he sees with the Overlord also the pylon that has been placed down by Huck. The Harvester count 39 to 33. He can't get the pylon up. And he's not getting any drones now. The pylon is so important, but he can't get it.
He doesn't even cancel.
Horrible here for Huck. This takes a lot of the momentum that Huck has away.
He's already got these roaches at the top
of
the ramp.
What are those sentries doing?
Dying, it looks like.
That's the donation. Huck is in a good mood. He's donating sentries, and NesTea is gracefully accepting them.
He certainly is. He's going to take the rest of the Zealots down, and NesTea, not only is he held here, but he's basically won himself the game. Forge here goes up for Huck, not only for his upgrades, but for his survival against a possible NesTea counterattack. NesTea droning up, though, instead even adds the macro hatch. He knows how ahead he is in this game. Huck, on the other hand, has shown crazier comebacks than this.
78 supply against 47, a 2-base economy against 3 bases. Lair tag up for NesTea, not finished yet, but on the way. We have the rocks being attacked, him droning as much as possible. Huck lost so much with this push. His entire attack is so late. He didn't kill anything with his attack.
Nothing. He killed his chances of taking 1st place in the group almost. +1 goes down on the Forge. He chrono boosts it. He wants to catch up with that. NesTea moves out with just a little bit of aggression. Army supply heavily in his favor, and he wants to just force a cancel on any Nexus that Huck might try to make while he gets his evolution chambers up. His lair is going to, of course, initially be for the Roach speed. He could go Infestors right away, though, if he wants to. That's how ahead he is.
He can do whatever he wants here. That's so right. He can get a 4th base. He's actually sending a drone out as we speak. We have now 60 Harvesters. There's the 4th hatchery. And
Roach speed, Infestation Pit, 1-1, everything I just said. He's going right for all of them.
Infestation Pit instead of Spire for the first time.
Yes. This is a great choice for this matchup. NesTea finds himself a little bit supply blocked, but he started his 10 drones first, so doesn't lose too much here. And as soon as his inject hits, starts 3 Overlords. Huck needs to turtle on 3 bases and hope for the best. His game is almost not even in his hands anymore.
NesTea is on the way back to where he belongs. He wants to get back into Codes, and he is so close. With a win here, everything is going to work out well for him. And then we would have NesTea, Fantasy and Center fight for the 3rd place. NesTea now on 70 harvesters, controlling the middle of the map, making sure that he sees everything that Huck is doing, even morphing the Overseer now to get a glimpse of the main base, droning up more heavily, double upgrades, pathogen glands, speed for the roaches, everything for him.
There goes the Overseer though, not able to really get a ton of information. Huck very on top of his main base vision. The only place that didn't have a pylon to spot something like this was actually where he had those stalkers. NesTea will go into the Infestors now as pathogen glands are lined up and he starts 5 Infestors. Huck has a Warp Prism on the way. This is something that could really mess with NesTea if he goes out for that big Infestor attack, which Huck might be expecting.
Lair tech or Hive tech at 12 minutes and the Spire. He can afford it. He knows how far ahead he is. But the 3-base economy for Huck is going to kick in soon. He needs a few more probes to completely saturate all 3 bases. Is only at 56 so far.
Yeah, up against 94. One of the reasons why I feel that NesTea is reluctant to attack here is he knows that this is one way Huck could get back into the game. If NesTea botches their attack, or if Huck's micro is really good and catches the Infestors, he could lose it. So he wants to make sure he has this game won no matter what, so he's going to be patient here.
The thing is, attacking against the 3-base Protoss is not really what you want to do. As soon as he takes the 4th, he leaves himself a lot more open to counterattacks. But right now, crushing through those walls is not easy. The Warp Prism, as you pointed out, it could mess with NesTea. If he's able to sneak it in, that would be horrible for the Zerg player, but we have a lot of Overlords at the left side of the map. So if he pays attention to the minimap, he should be able to identify the threat. And there comes the Warp Prism as Huck is moving out into the middle of the map.
Yep, and the Warp Prism is spotted immediately by those Overlords. If he gets bungled here, it could be great. And NesTea not only knows about the Warp Prism, but he sees this push coming across the map, which is now stepped onto his creep. This is NesTea's house. This is his territory. Huck could go for the Greater Spire. He could go for the Infestation Pit, but NesTea has other plans with Huck's main army.
The main army is under pressure as now NesTea is moving in. He has a few units at home trying to use those roaches to deal with the Zealot threat. Army supply 82 against 24 in favor of NesTea. Huck is at 80 supply, has 1,000 minerals and gas, needs to swap in units, waiting for the cooldown to be ready.
And Huck, he can be happy with his Kodesh spot, but the chances of him winning this game are basically 0. He did no damage with his Warp Prism. He didn't target anything. He killed some Lings and then was killed himself with all of his Zealots. He's not only down in army supply, he's down in total supply by 72. And like you said, it's really tough to crash into those walls at the 3rd base. NesTea is just poking, trying to see, are you thinking about taking a 4th? Huck's going to try to spend more resources here with his Warp Prism, but NesTea won't even give him the chance.
Spine Crawlers coming up now for NesTea. He reduces his worker supply, makes sure that his bases are safe. Especially important that he saves his Greater Spire. He needs to protect it. If Huck is able to get a warp into the main base and takes down the Greater Spire, that would be the GG for the Broodlords, at least for a long time. But this is exactly what NesTea wants. The Corruptors are already on the production tab, and the Greater Spire is nearly completed.
This is NesTea's opportunity to grab Huck's army as he moves out, moves down that ramp, and Huck with some really good force fields here. Unfortunately, the last one misses just slightly, so he can't grab the Lings.
And now suddenly he's moving into the natural, trying to bounce between the bases. The force fields are still not gone. A couple of the Infestors are exposed, and Huck is using his chance to kill them.
So many Infested Terrans, though, and he's going to trade energy for army supply, something that Huck cannot afford right now because he still doesn't even have his 4th base. That Immortal is so lucky he got away. And the 8 Broodlords are on the way. This is what NesTea was waiting for.
What was that pylon placement for Huck there? He wanted to place a pylon in the middle of the base, blocking his nexus. Okay, he cancelled that. That was weird.
That was a bit strange.
Zerglings now at the natural, just bouncing a bit at the bottom right. A base that is not saturated, as highlighted by Legend. We don't have any drones mining gas there, but we have the Broodlords now ready for NesTea. About to be maxed out.
And Huck has +3 finishing up. He's got range finishing up. NesTea, on the other hand, has 7 Corruptors in total, with these last 2 popping up with the Infestor support and all the Broodlords he has. Huck needs to hope for a miracle engagement at the support to hold it in that pit of broods. He's going to just hover over that and send those Broodlings down on Huck's Nexus. Huck is going to be hard-pressed to hold here. He even sends 2 Corruptors to the north to try to spot a potential Warp Prism counterattack by Huck, and he just finds there's nothing to be found.
+3/+3 on the production tab. More and more Broodlords being built. We don't have a Stargate. We don't have anything, no mothership. There is just nothing, no fleet beacon. He tries to beat this with what he has. How many infestors are we? Do we have 7 of them? That's enough bundles. The base at the bottom right is dead. That's of course a bit annoying for NesTea, but he's still able to prevent this 4th base, and this is exactly where he tries to attack. There are the Broodlords. Is there a blink forward? Is Huck trying to go for it? He's at 160 supply and supply blocks.
His supply blocked. His +3 is almost done. He blinks up to the north. His sentries and immortals get caught though. He could try to blink under these, but there's so many infested terrors to support. The Colossi are doing good damage.
The Colossi are killing the infested Swarmax. Here we go. More Broodlords joining the party. The blink forward. He's trying to snipe them. There's too much. GG! Welcome to Code S, NesTea. NesTea and Huck advance out of Group E. Both of them will play in the next Code S season. This is going to be an epic season. Players like Lucira and Former are up there as well. Squirtle, oh my god. First season in 2013 of Code S is going to be epic, and 2 of the players that will participate in it are NesTea and Huck.
Yep. 2 Titans. Old school. Look at those badges on NesTea's chest. Shows where he's been.
He wants to add another one.
He certainly might. I'm really proud of these 2 players coming through a lot of adversity in this group. They're able to get out. It was definitely one of our easier groups, we said, but harder to call because the players' skill level are so close, I feel.
Yep.
But now we have our final game to decide which one of these Terran players is going to get the wildcard spot.
Exactly. The wildcard group tomorrow will consist of 3 Zergs and 2 Terran players, but we don't just know yet which ones that is.
Yeah.
We want to have our last Terran player. It's a TVT that we are playing now, and it's going to be played between Fantasy and Center. Whoever wins this is going to get the spot in the wildcard group.
This is what it all comes down to. I don't know who I would put favored in this, but, you know, Center has shown shakier play,
Yep.
I feel, overall than Fantasy today.
Well, the thing is, I feel Center played really well, but he kind of disappointed me against Huck. The game on Cloud Kingdom was a bit off there.
Yeah.
A lot of decisions that he made that seemed, in hindsight, of course, just wrong. But right now, overall, I would say he still played very well. This is going to be a lot of pressure for him, though. He knows that all comes down to this one map, and this is a situation that he wasn't in before.
Yeah, the map is Cloud Kingdom, and it's a Terran versus Terran, or only Terran versus Terran of the night, and one Terran will go to the wildcard group no matter what.
In Fantasy, losing to Flying, you know, that was, of course, also what kind of started his downfall. Didn't really start it, but it sealed the deal for him. And he had to rely on Huck winning. He had to rely on a lot here, and in the end, it didn't work out for him. He started with a 2-0 into a group, and everything looked fine. He's a little bit like Flash in the last season. Not in this up and down, but the last time Flash started with a 2-0, everyone was just looking and was like, okay, he's going to get out of the group into Code S. In the end, it did not work. He ended up in a tie situation and dropped to Code A. And this is maybe the same fate that Fantasy has to endure today.
He may. I'm really excited to go into the game. It's Cloud Kingdom, as I said before, and I really, really, really enjoy watching Terran versus Terran. This is the only one we get to see today. It makes it all the more epic for me. It's the deciding match. There are no issues of balance here. There are only strategies, positioning, and movement. This is the chess matchup.
Fantasy versus Center, Terran versus Terran, the last game of the day, the wildcard group. Who will play in it? Is it going to be the SK Telecom player or the former TSL Terran? Closing his eyes here. Deep breath,
focused,
concentrating on the game at hand.
This decides our last spot of the night. Who gets the wildcard group? Will it be fan favorite Fantasy or the newcomer Center who just lost his team? Let's find out right now on Cloud Kingdom. I'm Wolf. With me is Caldor. This is the GSL Up and Downs Group E.